S. Mill's Utilitarianism, Modification of Bentham. Utilitarianism, as a moral and political philosophy, was first systematically developed by Jeremy Bentham, who defined morality in terms of pleasure and pain and proposed the principle of the greatest happiness of the greatest number. However, Bentham's utilitarianism soon faced criticism for being overly mechanical, quantitative, and indifferent to moral quality and human dignity. John Stuart Mill, Bentham's intellectual successor, sought to reform and refine utilitarianism to address these criticisms. Mill's utilitarianism, presented primarily in his essay Utilitarianism, 1861, represents a qualitative and liberal modification of Bentham's doctrine. Doctrine. Bentham's utilitarianism, a brief background. Bentham grounded morality in psychological hedonism, arguing that humans are governed by pleasure and pain. All pleasures were considered equal in kind and differed only in quantity. Bentham proposed the philosophic calculus to measure pleasure based on intensity, duration, certainty, and extent. However, critics argued that Bentham's approach reduced morality to mere calculation, ignored qualitative differences in pleasure, failed to protect individual rights and minority interests. Mill's utilitarianism emerged as a response to these limitations. Mill's modification of Bentham's utilitarianism. One qualitative distinction of pleasures. The most important modification introduced by Mill is the distinction between higher and lower pleasures. Unlike Bentham, Mill argued that pleasures differ not only in quantity but also in quality. Higher pleasures are intellectual, moral, and aesthetic, e.g., reading, art, moral reflection. Lower pleasures are bodily or sensual, e.g., eating, physical comfort. Mill famously stated, "It is better to be Socrates dissatisfied than a fool satisfied." Thus, Mill elevated human dignity and moral development over mere physical enjoyment. 2 competent judges. To determine the quality of pleasures, Mill introduced the idea of competent judges, individuals who have experienced both higher and lower pleasures. If such judges consistently prefer one type of pleasure, it is deemed superior. This method replaced Bentham's mechanical calculus with a more human and experiential standard. 3. Rejection of pure psychological hedonism. While Bentham assumed humans are motivated solely by pleasure, Mill recognized moral sentiments, conscience, and social feelings as significant motivations. Humans can act out of duty, sympathy, and moral obligation, not merely self-interest. 4. Rule utilitarianism. Bentham focused mainly on act utilitarianism, judging each action by its immediate consequences. Mill introduced elements of rule utilitarianism, emphasizing the importance of general. 3. Moral rules, e.g., justice, honesty, liberty, that promote long-term happiness. This shift allows protection of rights and social stability, even when violating a rule might yield short-term pleasure. 5. Emphasis on justice and rights. Mill addressed a major criticism of utilitarianism by incorporating justice into his moral theory. He argued that respect for individual rights is essential for overall happiness. Rights are not natural or absolute but are grounded in utility, as their protection promotes long-term social well-being. 6. Individual liberty and utilitarianism. In On Liberty, Mill argued that individual freedom is vital for personal development and social progress. Liberty itself becomes a utility-maximizing principle. Unlike Bentham, Mill strongly defended freedom of speech, thought, and lifestyle choices. 7. Moral education and character. Mill emphasized moral education and cultivation of character. Happiness is not merely passive pleasure but active self-development. Moral growth enhances both individual and collective happiness. Critical evaluation of Mill's modification. Merits. Humanize utilitarianism. Protects individual rights and liberty. Addresses criticisms of moral shallowness. More suitable for democratic societies. Criticism. Vague distinction between higher and lower pleasures. Subjectivity of competent judges. Potential conflict between rule and act utilitarianism. Conclusion. J. S. Mill's utilitarianism represents a significant improvement over Bentham's theory. By introducing qualitative pleasures, moral sentiments, justice, and liberty, Mill transformed utilitarianism into a more refined and humane moral philosophy. His modifications ensured utilitarianism remained relevant and compatible with liberal democracy, making it one of the most enduring ethical theories in modern